Thanks, Kristen. We've been digging deeper into a story we first brought you earlier this week. A Holyoke Police Captain placed on administrative leave with an investigation underway.
We've since obtained court paperwork that details allegations of sexual harassment against him. Western Mass News reporter Paris Dunford live for us in studio with what she's learned. Paris.
Chris, Mary, the court documents show a female Holyoke police officer filed a harassment prevention order against Captain Manuel Reyes. She claims since beginning work at the department in 2019, Reyes has made multiple unwanted and unprofessional sexual advances towards her. A longtime Holyoke police captain is now on administrative leave following a harassment prevention order against him. Western Mass News tracked down video of Captain Manuel Reyes, then a lieutenant, interviewing for his promotion in January of 2022.
I believe I have the temperament, the personality to run an effective bureau, and now that I've been a lieutenant for 9 years, I think I'm ready to take on that next challenge and next role.
Western Mass News obtained court documents that detail how a younger female police officer accused Reyes of sexually harassing her, making unwanted advancements for years. She claims this all started in 2019, as soon as she began the force. She documents that in one instance, Reyes brought her to one of his properties, a home in Holyoke, and got on top of her while she was sitting on the couch. She goes on to tell authorities he groped her and kissed her, stating, quote, "I did not consent to this or him touching me at all." She goes on to write, quote, "I could not move. I was frozen in fear and I could not do anything." In the paperwork, the officer goes on to say the inappropriate behavior continued until current day, both while at work and off work, and even some text messages were exchanged. She states, quote, "Captain was my boss, and his position to me meant that he could fire me." Court documents also reveal that two other co-workers of the officer supported her statements of inappropriate comments and behavior. We've learned Reyes was placed on administrative leave on Tuesday. A representative of the police department tells Western Mass News in a statement, quote, "We have been made aware of an event involving Captain Reyes. An investigation has been opened and is ongoing." Mayor Joshua Garcia also releasing a statement that reads, quote, "This is a personnel matter that will receive rigorous, impartial scrutiny that respects the rights of all concerned. I have faith in this process, and I believe it will yield a fair, unambiguous conclusion." And Western Mass News has also confirmed that Captain Reyes has overseen the Internal Affairs Division for the police department for quite some time. Therefore, he would usually be the one to investigate these types of claims within the department. A judge granted that harassment prevention order, which expires on April 11th when there is a hearing on the order. We continue to make efforts to contact Captain Reyes for comment. Reporting live in studio, Paris Dunford for Western Mass News.